how did the business develop with time?
I did face some challenges. So I initially went to an all-girls school, and you had a lot of people like Teyes Eye Cosmetics was really a big thing. People were comparing me, saying, oh, she's trying to replicate this, she's trying to replicate this, making fun of me for it at the time. But I had that vision. And you have people, coming along the way trying to tell you, oh, you can't do this, you shouldn't be doing this. If you're staying on top of that vision and you know exactly where you're going, it makes it 10 times easier.
Across your ventures, writing books, running Teyes Eye, what's been the most impactful thing that you've learned about yourself?
About how much of an impact I have on people. I never actually realized until people come to me and say, wow, I'm so glad that you're my friend, or you've pushed me to actually do this. Seeing the impact that I have alongside my siblings on those children is just so... It's just a big shock for me,
So where do you see yourself, Latoya, in 10 years?
By that time, I definitely want to be a millionaire by that time.
Why? Latoya, I would imagine that some listeners already know who you are, but for the benefit of those who don't, who is Latoya Likambi?
So I am an 18-year-old entrepreneur. I have a skincare business, which is a 100% organic and cold press business named Teyes Eye Cosmetics, with a skincare store based in Liverpool. I'm also a best-selling author, the magazine editor of Thrive Magazine, a magazine all about spotlighting young creatives. I also do a lot of public speaking. Yeah.
Who should listen to this conversation?
I really believe that young people should be listening to this conversation, especially those that want to have an idea of where they're going or don't have a clear vision or purpose. It's really important that that type of audience is watching this content. I believe I always have an impact on people. I believe that my main purpose is to guide people to unlocking their creative genius. So I do a lot of personal development work, helping people to unlock their purpose, find their vision and things like that.
We are both young people.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose the two main reasons why young people don't want to get into business or entrepreneurship is either that they don't have enough time or that they don't know what they're doing. So what would you say to that listener?
I'd say the first key problem is not knowing what you're doing. Before you start anything, you must have a goal, you must have a purpose, a vision. And once you're able to find that, you then will, you then have to work on that time management. You then have to think of what is a priority to you and what isn't a priority to you. And that's when you'll be able to balance things. That's when you'll be able to find the time to put into your business. I do believe that everybody's got a lot on their plate. You just have to play your cards right and decide what is important to you and what isn't.
So tell me a little bit more about Teyes Eye.
So I founded Teyes Eye when I was in year 8 and I was just 13 years old. I started by just selling skincare products to my friends, just out of passion for skincare. I was a young girl with a love for skincare, beauty. And when I gave a certain product to my auntie and my mom, she really invested into my business. She said, this is a great idea and we're going to make it 100% organic and cold pressed, because my mom is, she's actually, right now, she's my background researcher. So she has a PhD in hematology. She does all my research for me. And
could you just break that down for us? What is that in?
It's all about blood, and she's done a lot of work on cancer, specifically leukemia, and she does a lot of background work on what goes into my products, the specific cold pressed ingredients that are used in my products. And I just think the gap in the market that I saw was that there are not enough, if not many at all, actually, 100% organic. It's different to say, oh, my skincare brand is organic. But what's the percentage, And it's all about, the slogan is born to stand out. It's all about caring for your skin, caring for the flaws rather than concealing your skin with things that are more harmful, things that are doing more harm to your skin than good.
You know what, Latoya, I completely resonate with that. I do think that, the beauty industry for both men and women is very much about applying on top, but it's not, beneficial to your internal. So I suppose your why behind Teyes Eye was to provide that gap in the market, something organic, 100% organic.
Yeah.
that is beneficial to them.
Exactly.
Okay, but that is very interesting. So how did the business develop with time? You've been running it for how many years?
For Well, since I was in year 8, which is since 2018 and it's now 2024. So that's pretty much a very long time. Not very long, but it's long enough. And over time, I did face some challenges. So I initially went to an all girls school, and you had a lot of people like making fun of me for it at the time. But I had that vision, and I knew where I was going. I knew what I was doing. So I couldn't let that get to me. If you have a vision, and you have people, coming along the way trying to tell you, oh, you can't do this, you shouldn't be doing this. If you're staying on top of that vision and you know exactly where you're going, it makes it 10 times easier for you to get to where you want to be. And ever since then, I went on to opening a skincare store, which is on Picton Road in Wavertree. And I opened that when I was just 15. And now I'm working there. I have people coming in. I have just had my first work experience student, actually, which has been great.
That's incredible. So you are a student yourself.
Yes.
And you brought someone else in for work experience. Yes. So I suppose just give me some insight. These naysayers, what were the sort of things that they were saying?
Oh, she's trying to be, at the time I know Kylie Cosmetics was really a big thing. People were comparing me, saying, oh, she's trying to replicate this. She's trying to replicate this. Or she thinks she's I don't know, all sorts of ridiculous things that people were saying. But, you just have to push that aside as a young person to not let what other people are saying get to you. It's not easy, but if you have that purpose instilled within you and that vision, which is exactly what I had, and, grounded values, you are going to get there regardless of what people are saying and who's saying it.
And what are your values?
So I'm a Christian, so God is everything to me, and I know exactly what he created me for. And I'm very blessed to have had parents that have raised me in a way that I've known my purpose ever since I was younger. I've known exactly what I wanted to do. Maybe not the route that I was going down, but I always knew.
But you felt that you had a greater purpose.
Yeah. A greater calling, yeah, always.
And I think that's really important. I think a lot of young people, maybe some people listening, haven't yet found that.
Exactly.
I believe we all do have some sort of innate purpose, but it just takes a bit of work in self-discovery.
Yeah.
I'm probably like sitting alone in a dark room and trying to find out what it is you want to do, where you want to go. Year 8, you started that business. Beforehand, what were you doing beforehand? Was that your first entrepreneurship endeavor?
No, actually. So before that, I was publishing books. I've been writing ever since the age of 7, and I published my first book at the age of 10, which was a short stories book with a lot of lessons for young children, lessons on friendship, confidence. And then after that, I ventured into writing chapter books, and I have a series called Casey's Diary, which is all about confidence building, based on a specific character who's going through middle school, and she's finding her confidence. She is facing challenges along the way, and it's just to help other children know that they're not going through what they're going through alone in terms of, suffering with low self-esteem, low confidence issues. And it's just to give people that push to go for what they want.
Sounds very impactful. Have you ever suffered from low esteem?
I haven't actually, but I saw it a lot around me. I was in, like I said before, and I was in an all-girls school, especially, which is, it wasn't the best of schools. It was a place that, I was surrounded by a lot of girls who had confidence issues, and the things they said to me, like I said before about my business, the judgments they made on me, it was a reflection on their own self-esteem and confidence issues.
Projection.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
What I wanted to mention before, one of my favorite sort of sayings to live by, you don't react to the world reacts to you, right? So you shouldn't be changing you or letting people get under your skin. If they're reacting to you, if the world's reacting to you, then that means you're doing something right. Yeah. That means you're doing something that is better than nothing, which I think is a important thing for young people who are listening to understand, especially when they're breaking. Like I experienced that too, when you're trying to go about breaking out of that box of the young person, right? Of our generation, which is that you really shouldn't be doing anything other than school. That's what people will possibly have to endure. So right now, what gets you out of bed every single day?
So as I said before, I'm Christian, so I think everything for me is God. There's one saying that is, repeated a lot in my church or wherever I go, and it's that if you think you woke up because of the alarm, you've got the wrong idea in your head. There are people whose alarms have went off every single day and they're not alive. And I just look to God and I know that I'm waking up today because God's not finished with me. I am waking up today because I have not fulfilled my purpose still, and God wants me to keep going. And it's just something that I keep in mind with everything I do, which is why I'm intentional about where I place myself, what I say, what I do, the impact I have on people. It just all links back to my faith.
So where do you see yourself, Latoya, in 10 years?
By that time, I definitely want to be a millionaire. By that time, I want to have
Why?
I need my products and everything I do to have such a huge impact on people, because I want people to go ahead and chase after their own dreams. Not only chase their dreams, but actually, you know what, actually leave them as dreams and pick them up as a vision instead and make it a reality. And what I find is that every time I go somewhere and I talk to somebody about what I do, they are then inspired to, start their own thing. It may not necessarily be related to what I'm doing, but I've realized that if I am friends with you or if I'm associated with you, I will, yeah, 100%,
Reciprocal effect,
yeah,
almost.
exactly, yeah. And if I have that impact on people, then it's like a domino effect and it keeps going.
That's incredible that you've acknowledged that. And I suppose you've seen this happen with people,
100%, yeah.
your friends.
Yeah, and I also do a lot of public speaking. So I've been on panel sessions and summits, conferences, specifically women's conferences. And I always see that within not just my age range, but surprisingly, people who are way older than me, even professors who are in, very different fields to me, always are inspired by what I have to say. And it's just very inspiring to keep me going, because I know that people are inspired by what I say. So that's my reason to keep going,
You know what? I completely agree with that. I think young people underestimate the inspirational impact that they can have, and that actually adults do support. I think there's almost like a glass ceiling that you have to break through between not being perceived as anything to then actually being understood and people wanting to push. But once you break through that,
Yeah.
I don't know, how have you found that? Do you think that that's how life sort of works, society?
I think that I always say that you have to be an opportunity maker rather than an opportunity taker. So that's something that I've done. I know I've been very privileged to I've been invited to a lot of rooms where people my age aren't usually in, and that's because of, my parents. They're very supportive, but not everybody has that support. And in cases like that, I think it's really important to fight to be where you deserve to be, and I would always I always say this, that I would always pick okay, so in life everything's hard, right? But there's two hards. You either get the hard that you can look back at and say, wow, I'm glad I went through that because look at me now. Or you get the hard that you look back and you say, this was really hard and I'm not satisfied with where I am and who I am. So I always say I'd always pick the hard, that I can go through the toughness, I could go through the tough times and be able to look back and say, wow, that was so worth it above anything else.
So what's been the hardest point in your life?
So probably right now, actually, getting through high school. So high school is very different to secondary school. I go to a sixth form college as well.
Oh, so you call it high school?
Yeah.
Yeah. For the acknowledgement of the viewers, you're talking about college. Sixth form or college in the UK.
Very different to secondary school, which was the equivalent to middle school, right? In America, I don't know. Yeah.
International viewership, yeah.
So the challenges that I've had to face in college are They're not easy. They're difficult. There's a lot of distractions. I'm surrounded by a plethora of people that, you just wouldn't get in secondary school. And I've really had to sit down and think about who I decide to surround myself with, where I decide to put my energy into, what I decide to say, how I carry myself, and not only the academic things, the academic side of school. Obviously, that's hard too. Nothing's easy. But, I think the community side of school, where you have all the big distractions, especially with people our age, I really have to sit down and think about what are my priorities.
So, what's your tips for people who maybe want to break away or acknowledge that their associates on a positive effect on them? What you say to that listener?
You really have to think within, because it's not an easy decision to make. Sometimes people have had friends that have been there for a lifetime, but you can tell that they're not, having a positive impact on you. But you need to think about yourself. You need to think about where you want to go, and then look at your friends and ask yourself, are these people going to take me there? Are these people, or do I see myself there with these people? Do I even see myself with these people in the next, 10 years?
Or even months.
Right? Yeah. Even months. And you need to really sit down and think about that. It's always about sitting down, reflection, thought. Am I satisfied with who I'm surrounding myself with right now?
Is there anyone in your circle that is like you?
100%. So my closest friends are podcasters. I have a really close friend who's a fashion designer as well. They all do a lot of work on personal development. I have very close associates as well who are doing amazing things. Young professional photographers, videographers, music producers. And obviously in school, I do have, schoolmates that'll be around, but I always make sure that my closest friends are, grounded. They know where they want to be. And even if they're not, because, you can't just push away everyone, sometimes you may be there in people's lives for a reason, people who seem like maybe they're not adding any value to your life, but that's because you have to add value to their life. I believe that God will put you in people's lives for seasons for a reason, because you are going to be used to answer that person's prayers,
That's a very interesting take, and one that I suppose lots of people could reflect on. Definitely. Has there been a specific time that you realized entrepreneurship is for me, or has it always just been like that?
It's definitely always been like that. I think it's something in the mindset. I've always been that person to, spot something, oh, this can be done here, this can be done here. And I know that having that background of, being an author from a very, very young age has just been embedded in me in everything I do. And it's just, I think that was my physical starting point. But then within the mind, I've always been a creative child. I've always known that I want to do something that's going to impact people positively. And I think that's when my entrepreneurship started. Even when I was in primary school, I remember when people have specific talents, I'm always like, oh, you could turn that into a business. Why don't you? I'm always that friend. And I know it can get a bit like, oh, girl, why do you always have to, not everything should be about business, but I always spot that in people, that you have this talent, you could turn that into a business. You have this talent, you can start something with that.
They don't see it.
They don't see it, exactly.
That's the difference between the regular person and the entrepreneur mindset. Interesting. So what do you say to the person who maybe has that spark but needs to develop it?
You have to put action to it always. I always say that your dreams need to be, picked up and turned into reality. It's one thing to sit there and be a dreamer, but it's another thing to, get up and turn those dreams into something. I am a big dreamer myself, but I've had to sit down sometimes and be like, okay, too much dreaming. Too much talking, too much thinking. I need to get up and actually do something. It's one thing to have all these bright, amazing ideas. It's another thing to get them out there and, impact people.
And I'd imagine the biggest reason why people don't realize their dreams is risk. Mm-hmm. What's the biggest risk that you ever take?
Probably my skincare store, probably the opening of my skincare store. Obviously, I have support from my parents, which I'm extremely grateful for. But a lot of risk comes with, having a physical store, especially when a lot of things are online nowadays. I think another risk that I've taken as well is, well, to be honest, I don't really see them as risks. I see them as rather challenges that I know I can overcome. I like to put it that way. But another one is probably with, I remember when I was applying for college. And ever since I was younger, I've always been a creative, always struggled with math, science, all of that. Always been grouped as either average or below average, specifically when it comes to mathematics. And I saw myself in the school that I'm in right now. I said, I'm going to be in that school. I want to be in that school. That's the only school I see myself in. And at the time, that was coming towards my GCSEs because I had put a lot of focus on my magazine, my planner. Oh, I haven't spoken about it. Yeah, right.
That's fine.
Okay, sorry. But at that
We
time,
can take a look at it.
all right. Yeah. At that time, I was putting my focus into a lot of other things, and I was quite literally failing my maths GCSE a few months before I sat my initial exam, and I needed not only to pass, but I needed a specific grade to get to do the course that I wanted to do. I only applied to one school. I knew I was going to get there. I knew I was going to sit down and change things. Even my family members thought that, even they had a bit of doubt in me. They were saying that, oh, you don't know if you're going to get there. I knew exactly where I wanted to be. And I've been in that college now, and I'm about to sit my A levels in that specific college.
That is the definition of risk taking. And it's funny that your life panned out that way, because mine did too. I applied for one school, and just like you, I was failing my GCSEs until, the final hour. And then I managed to get into the school just like yourself. So maybe that's a sort of commonality among entrepreneurs, is like naturally we just take risks.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something that a listener, maybe wants to tune into. That might help enlighten them as to whether they're an entrepreneur or not. Across your ventures, writing books, running Teyes Eye, what's been the biggest, most impactful thing that you've learned about yourself?
Probably about how much of an impact I have on people. I never actually realized until people come to me and say, wow, I'm so glad that you're my friend, or you've pushed me to actually do this. Without you, I don't think I would have realized that I'm actually built for this. I'm worthy for this. Even when I go to a lot of schools with my siblings who are also authors as well, and we talk to a lot of young children about, unlocking their creative genius, writing, reading, being creative, seeing the impact that I have alongside my siblings on those children is just so, it's just a big shock for me. It's something that makes me, feel very accomplished.
Yeah. Seeing that positive effect that you can have on people. Suppose that is the definition of bringing value to people.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you think young people don't, and I say young people, I mean people in our generation who are our age, do they not understand value, impact, and bringing value to people?
100%. You can see that straight away in the conversations you hear, especially when you're at school. You can hear that people don't understand that, or, people getting themselves into a lot of problems don't realize that certain things just aren't worth your time. You're not supposed to put your energy into everything and everyone. And I'd say that although it is important to, be an energy giver, you need to not give too much of your energy into things that are not worth your time, things that aren't, things that don't add value into your life. And I just believe that conversations that don't add any value either into my life or into the person that I'm talking to's life, they're not worth my time. I'm not supposed to be in that type of conversation, especially as a young girl who, a lot of young people our age, specifically girls, struggle with gossip. It's a very, prominent thing. Yeah. Yeah. And I realized that coming from an all-girls school then I went to a mixed secondary school, and now a mixed. So I've been to 3 different schools over time, and it's just something that's there all the time. And sometimes I just have to sit to myself and think, this won't even matter next week. So why are we talking about this?
Completely. No, I completely relate to that. Absolutely. I suppose feels like we're going on a productivity crusade almost, talking about no more idle talk or anything like that. But no, I suppose yeah. I suppose if a listener is tuned in right now and they feel that that irks them, then maybe they can relate to that.
Yeah.
And it irks me a little bit, but I suppose that there's a time and a place for everything,
Exactly.
and each to their own, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no, I completely relate to that. So, what's been or who is the personal thing that you've relied upon at your lowest point?
I keep going back to this, but it's always, always, always going to be God for me. Obviously, I do have a really supportive family, which I'm forever grateful for. And I know that when I was younger, when everybody goes through things, right? And when I was younger, my mom would always tell me to count my blessings. And every time I'm going through something that's specifically challenging, or anytime I'm at a low point, I just have to sit down and count my blessings and realize that, you know what? I'm in such a good position. I'm not, how do I say? I'm not devaluing what I'm going through and saying that, oh, it's not that important. Other people go through worse, but I'm saying that I am very blessed. And to have the problems that I have is actually a blessing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. People don't realize, especially young people in our country, in the West, you could say,
Exactly.
they don't realize that their life could be absolutely a lot worse than it actually is.
Exactly.
And I have found that we just don't, like our generation, we don't appreciate opportunity very much. What do you think about that?
I think the same thing. And it all goes back to gratitude. It all goes back to the fact that people will be living lives and, they're yearning for something more, but they're not grateful for what they have now. And I always say, even when you get to that point that you have always dreamed of, if you can't be grateful for what you have now, you will never be satisfied. Even when you get to that, breaking point that you've always dreamed of, if you cannot be appreciative of what or who you are now or where you are now, you just won't be able to enjoy the blessings.
I suppose that links into what you mentioned earlier. You said you want to be a millionaire 10 years from now, minimum. So, what do you think about money?
So I know as a Christian, there tends to be a stigma around, money is the root to all evil. That's a quote that's in the Bible, but I believe that it has to be read within context. And I know that it's all about your intention, what you intend to do with money, why you want that, what is your why, and what do you want to do with that. So I truly believe that, money is a tool. It's also a privilege. And I believe that with the work and the impact that I want to have on people, of course, I'm going to need money to do that. So that is also one of my, huge reasons for why I do see myself in that position.
An interesting take that I heard is that money amplifies you. If you're a good person, money's going to amplify you.
Exactly.
If you're a bad person, same goes.
Exactly. I agree.
But I suppose we need to say we. I hope that this podcast can aid young people in shifting their mindset towards like materialism. I think the best way to succeed in business is having a value-led mission. What value does social media offer young people other than entertainment, in your opinion?
A lot. First of all, education. And that's not even just academic education. That's education in a lot of areas. And I believe that now you really have to be wise with how you use social media. It's often viewed as a bad thing, but social media is a tool. There are many free platforms, social media platforms that give you accessibility to millions, if not even billions of people, share knowledge, share your passions, your interests. And I am so heavy on the fact that you need to always make sure you create more than you consume on social media. Yes. That's my main purpose on social media. I have a YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatnot, and I'm active on all three. And I'm always making sure that I'm providing value to people. I am giving people advice, personal development tips, etc.
Yeah. And I think lots of young people feel almost like they want to be in a shell. They don't want to be egotistical What do you say to people like that who are underutilizing their socials for good and not consumption?
I'd say you have to shift your environment, because clearly you have that mindset for a reason. And 9 times out of 10 is definitely because of the environment that you're in. When you look at huge people out there on social media who, have gotten to their point of success, that's because they definitely had to change the environment of which they were in. They definitely all started. There were people who told them, you can't do what you're doing. There were definitely people who brought them down, but you need to, look forward, look at where you're going, take inspiration from those people who are already at where you want to be and follow in their footsteps.
We have covered almost every single question, but I am aware that you've brought these here.
Yes.
So if you'd like to pass them over, we can have a quick flick through. So what do you have?
Thrive magazine, which
Yes.
is the second issue. This is the second issue of my magazine, which is all about giving a spotlight to young creatives. This specific one was the Gen Z Creative Collective, which is about, empowering young people to unlock their creative genius. It just gives other people a platform to showcase what they do, and also gives readers motivation to see that other young people are doing great things, so I can do it. So in that specific issue, my sister's in the issue. I've got the youngest photographer in the world in that issue. I've got models, just everything really. And then over here is the New Year Better Me planner, and that's a personal development planner, and it helps you break down your goals into monthly goals. You have a space to do, vision board creating. It really helps those who don't really know where they're going to ground themselves, reflect, and think, of why they're doing what they're doing, or, help them. It's really like that stepping stone to help you actually achieve your goals, because it's one thing to make a long list of, unrealistic New Year's resolutions. And I only say unrealistic because they've not been broken down. So what that planner actually does is helps you break them down into small steps, because it's the small steps and the small actions that matter.
And people can buy this, right?
Yes, so you can buy them from Amazon, or you can buy them from www.likambiglobalpublishing.com, which is our family-led publishing company.
Incredible. So you've told us all about your businesses, yourself, your publications. And if listeners are in or around Liverpool, they can go to your shop.
Yes.
Incredible. Latoya Likambi, thank you for coming on to the Inspiring Youth Agency podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here today.